Hi guys, this is Carla, and this time I'm here to do a review for episode 12 of season 1 of Shadowhunters. This episode is titled, quite fittingly, Malec. Um, and I have to say, I'm actually kind of really fangirling a lot about this. I've watched the episode 3 times already in 2 days. And I can say with all certainty, I don't even need to think about this, okay? I can say with all certainty that this episode is the best episode of the season. At least so far, though I don't think the season finale is going to be able to top this one, okay? It was an amazing episode. Amazing. Better than any of the other ones I've said have been amazing. Seriously, I'm having trouble. If you've been listening to my reviews, you know how much I love nitpicking every single thing about this show. I like the show, but I have to admit it has its, flaws, sometimes quite glaringly. So I like talking about those flaws because it helps me unload in a way. This time around, I'm having trouble trying to come up with something that I didn't like about this episode. It's a miracle. I know. I don't even know what it is. But this episode was great. And it's almost funny, too, because you would think that an episode that is doing this, runaway bride plot all over again, where the secret lover comes in and tries to stop the wedding at the last moment. It's the most cliched plot on earth, basically. It's been so overdone, and somehow the way they did it in this episode felt very fresh. I mean, yeah, you still have the jilted lover trying to come in and, stop the wedding and stuff, but it somehow manages not to feel very Days of Our Lives, and instead it feels very serious, and that has everything to do with the performances. I've been complaining about the acting in this show for God knows how long, since even before I saw the first episode, I'm quite sure. And this was the episode, man. This was the episode where all of them, every single one of them, showed me how good actors they are. They were incredible, and that just gave the whole cliche plot of the wedding such a weight that I wasn't expecting, and such a heart to it. And I really loved it. And because I've seen it 3 times already, I can get behind the details because I actually saw them by now. I usually don't notice the details on the first watch, but I've been so into this thing for the last 2 days that my eyes have been everywhere. And I've noticed things that I normally wouldn't notice, and I kind of love it because they threw in all these little Easter eggs for, the entire Mortal Instruments saga. And as a fan, I love that because it tells me that they really know what they're doing. They're really going back to the books, and giving us the little things that we fans loved from the books in the first place, right? So I was really psyched to see all those little Easter eggs in there. And I'm fangirling so hard, you guys. I can't even begin to, I'm quite sure that I will watch this episode again tomorrow because it was so good and I loved it so much, and I'm so happy that they did this so right, because this could have been a disaster, okay? But they did it so right, and I love it. And it all, begins and ends with the amazing chemistry between Matthew and Harry. They're just perfect, okay? I can totally see why anybody would cast them in these roles, because they have such a great chemistry. They just look at each other and I get chills. It's awesome. And I'm not even that big a Malec shipper, I'm yes, I do ship the canon couples, I guess. But mostly my OTP is Simon and Isabel. I don't really care about the others. I mean, they're cute, and I I smile when they have a scene together and stuff, and Alec and Magnus have so many issues to deal with in their relationship, and just the fact that they have a relationship in the first place is kind of mind-blowing. But I've never really been like into them. Like I don't read fanfics that center around them or anything. Well, I totally did that this week because I've been going down a Shadowhunters spiral this entire week, and it's kind of ridiculous. So there's me reading Malec fanfiction, something I had never even done before, and I'm so into this, man. I'm so into this. This episode was amazing even before I actually watched the episode. It was great. So yeah, before I just start repeating the same stuff all over again, I'm just going to go down the episode, because I actually took notes. I mean, I've watched it 3 times, so I should probably take notes, right? So that's what I did. I took some notes, and I'm just going to comment on everything that I liked and didn't like about this episode, which mostly I liked, as you already know. First off, like, even from the beginning, it started off great. I have been complaining about Kat non-stop for, like, I think there was, like, 1 episode where I didn't complain about her, and the rest of them I did. I don't have any complaints whatsoever about her in this episode. At all. Like, as soon as she had her first scene, which was a scene, that one scene where she actually talks to Alec, I thought that was so sweet. I thought she did such a great job, and I thought Matthew did such a great job, and that scene was amazing, man. I loved that scene. It's so great to see them finally, apologizing to each other, because they both, the circumstances just put them at odds when they could actually be really good friends, which we know from the books. So it was nice to see the first step to that. I'm really happy for Kat. I think she did a great job in this episode. And it all started with that scene. I thought it was so heartfelt of her. And she's like, my world turned upside down, but this might be the weirdest thing I've ever done. I thought it was so funny. Then right after that, we are hit straight in the feels, because we have that one scene with Alec and Magnus. That, I might have to say that I feel like that was the best scene of the episode, okay? I think Matthew Daddario is a national treasure, and there he was demonstrating once again that he's the best part of the show, no questions asked. And that scene was a masterclass in acting, okay? That man is so wow. I mean, his performance in that scene hit me so hard, and I did think, Magnus doing the magic thing was a bit cheesy, but it didn't even matter, because the tension, you could feel the tension between the two of them. It was incredible. Like, seriously, I can't even handle how good Matthew is. Harry's amazing as well, but Matthew, man, he's like, heads and shoulders above. That guy is at a whole other level, and I think it's amazing. I think he's destined for great things, like more Shadowhunters for sure, but he needs to break out, like, in the big leagues, because he's amazing. Then after that, we have, that scene where Magnus and Clary and Jace are researching into warlocks, and then there's Hodge and whatever, and I thought it was really interesting, as a fan of the books, I thought it was really interesting that when they narrowed it down to 3 warlocks, not only was it Ragnar Fell, who's obviously, he's a warlock from the books, we know him from the books, it was Ragnar Fell. The one to his right was Katarina Laws, aka Simon's teacher later on from the academy. And then on the left, it was none other than Teresa Gray, aka Tessa, aka the main character in the Infernal Devices series, and she also appears in Immortal Instruments later. So it's like mind blown for me, like, because I looked at the Tessa photo, because I thought, I wonder if one of them is Tessa, and I hadn't even noticed Katerina on the other side because I'm so used to thinking of her as having blue skin. This woman didn't have blue skin, but then on my second watch, I actually looked at the name and it was Katerina, and it put a smile on my face, okay, because it tells me that they're reading the books. They actually know what they're doing when it comes to the books. They want to get stuff from the books and put it on the big screen. And at the same time, the names were so small, and it was all sort of in the background, so it didn't hit you over the head with it, so that if they want to, later on cast an actual actress as Tessa and Katerina, they can adjust. It's most people wouldn't have even noticed. So I thought that was smart. Scene later when Isabella is talking to Alec, I have said 70,000 times already that I love whenever Izzy and Alec share a scene. I think they're fantastic. I think they have such a chemistry as brother and sister, and they're just adorable, and you can see how much they care for each other every time they talk, and I love that scene with Izzy and Alec. Also because, here's the thing, Emerald's accent, I love it. I can hear that woman saying the word through every single second of every single day of my life. Every time she says that word, I get chills. I love her accent so, and she said it like twice or 3 times in this conversation, so I was really like, oh. And then there's Alec's parting line. It's like, oh, sisters can really drive you nuts sometimes. How cute is he? He's adorable. I love him. Then after that, Jace, Clary, and Magnus go off to London to fight Ragnar. I thought the scene outside Ragnar's place, like before the whole fire thing, was actually, the whole conversation flowed really well. And that's something that I have with this show, that the dialogue isn't usually very good. It doesn't flow. It seems like they're just saying things for the sake of saying things. This scene had an amazing flow. Okay, the conversation flowed really, really well. So I thought that was a really great scene. And then you get the, wall of fire that can only be crossed by someone who's pure of heart. And I'm sitting there like, oh, where's Izzy when you need her? Because I totally believe that was another, Easter egg from the book. Seriously, I really do. Then we meet Ragnar, and honestly, I don't know that much about Ragnar because I haven't read the Infernal Devices series. I just read the Mortal Instruments. I know things about the Infernal Devices, but I haven't actually read them, so I don't really know Ragnar all that much. But I really loved him here. I loved him, okay? And I was not expecting to love him this much. I never thought, like, when I saw him in the sneak peek, I never thought that he would be like this, and I never thought that I was going to like him this much, but I do. And his chemistry with Magnus was so great. I just adored it. Speaking of him, though, there are many plot points in this episode that they're skipping to, in a way, because a lot of these stuff, I mean, the wedding was made up, of course, but a lot of the themes that were touched upon, and a lot of the characters that were mentioned and appeared in this episode don't actually pop up in the books until, like, book 3. And if you haven't read the books, then this might be a spoiler for you, but, the whole thing with the Book of the White, even Ragnar dies in the book as well, but he didn't die until book 3. And, Alec didn't come out to his parents, let alone in public, until book 3 as well. So, book 3, was it? Yeah, I think it was book 3. Or, like, later, I don't know I don't remember which one exactly it was. But later on, much later on, like, he dated Magnus in secret for a long time. Like, the only ones who knew were the young ones who know, Jason, Clary, and Izzy, and Simon, etc. But, he wasn't out. And now I'm really wondering what they're going to do, because, for example, there was a particular moment in book 2 with the Fearless rune that I really liked, and I guess now that Maris and Robert know, they can't actually do that, so I wonder how they're going to, go around that. But I find it very interesting that they had so many plot points that were from like book 3 in this one episode of the first season. That didn't make me not like the episode though, so I can't complain. I have to say too that they really played the Lydia thing well, because initially Jace was suspicious of her because of course she's the only foreign person in the institute who could have possibly betrayed them, and they played it really well, because even after the wedding, that scene when she's going into the room to take the moral cup so she can take it with her, her face and just the way she's dressed and the way she's walking and everything she does, it almost plants the seed of doubt again. It's like, wait, is Lydia going to turn out to be the evil one? Of course, I knew she wasn't because I read the books, but I imagine that for people who haven't read the books, her attitude could actually be still suspicious until she gets knocked out. But I really liked how they did that, because they played the Lydia thing up until the end. Speaking of Lydia, the scene she had with Clary, again, the dialogue, the back and forth they had was perfect. How they flowed from topic to topic to topic, from what happened at Ragnar's to Alec and the wedding, and then later on to how can I trust you? Well, you're Valentine's daughter and I trusted you. I thought it was fantastic. That conversation was great. I also love the scene with Izzy and Simon, just because I'm a hopeless shipper and I adored them, and I like that I really love that they're actually giving them moments of interaction, even though they're not yet at the point where anything could happen between the two of them. But I appreciate the interaction. I love that Izzy actually seems to genuinely like Simon, as a friend at least, and seek him out when she needs advice for mundane stuff. So I think that was adorable. We got some Magnus Camille backstory. Yay! Actually, I really like Camille in the show. I hated her in the books, and I hated just the mere idea that she had anything to do with Magnus, because she was such a mess, and she made such a mess of Magnus and Alec's relationship. So I'm not excited about the fact that they've mentioned the relationship between her and Magnus, but I like seeing her again, because I like her at least in the show. The scene with Jace and Alec, oh my god, it's the Privateers thing all over again. I love that scene so much. My heart hurt just seeing them talking, and they were both so good. And I cannot complain about Dom anymore, because he was great in this episode, and particularly in this scene. And just, Matthew is always great, but I loved Jace in this scene. I mean, I thought they were both so great. The only thing I don't like about this scene is that I needed a hug. Why didn't they hug? They just shook hands. What the heck? No, hug each other. I want you to hug each other like Barabatai. Damn it. I really missed that. They should have hugged. It felt like it was missing something. I did, however, feel like there was a question of the Downworlders. They're just coming into the Institute whenever they want now. By the end of the episode, not only is Magnus just breaks in there to stop the wedding, but Simon is already there. And then Luke is already there taking care of Jocelyn. And I'm like, wait, isn't this supposed to be hallowed ground? How is this happening? So I thought, yeah, they messed up there, but I don't even mind though, because I wanted Simon to be there so bad. So I don't even mind that they totally messed that up. I do have to say, as the wedding started, I love the freaking music. That music was so great, and I'm kind of loving the music in this show in general. I think it's really awesome. As far as the wedding itself goes, loved Magnus telling of Maris. Okay, A+ for that. It was so great, and again, it's a little Easter egg because we know that they know each other from the past and they didn't get along, and stuff happens later on between Alec's parents and Magnus, and there's a history there that still kind of reverberates in the present, and it kind of, screws up with Alec's relationship a little bit. But I love that. He was like, shut up, Maurice. Let me walk and get my man. It was fantastic. I love that bit. And then, what can I say? The scene at the altar, man. It's like, Alec is just standing there like, I can't breathe. And I'm just like, oh, baby, let me give you a hug. It felt so, Matthew's such a great Alec, okay? Because Alec has to have this thing where he's like really, mature and commanding and confident when he's dealing with, shadow hunting stuff. Because Alec is a leader, okay? He's the leader of the gang in a way. But in his personal life, especially in his relationship, which he has zero experience on, and dealing with feelings and dealing with his own feelings for people of his same gender, and Magnus in particular, he's very vulnerable, okay? Not only is he shy, he's also very vulnerable and he has that awkward thing going on, and that's what makes us love him so much, and Matthew can pull up that balance incredibly. Like, when he was at that altar telling Lydia that he couldn't breathe, my heart broke for him. I don't even know what to say. And then Lydia, okay, I'm just gonna say this. Lydia is a precious diamond, and I love her, okay? And it really sucks that probably, 98% of the fandom hated her for the entire season. I liked her. Okay, I didn't love her like I do now. Back then, I liked her. Now I love her. Okay, Lydia is awesome, and I hope people really regret not liking her from the beginning, because she is fantastic and I love her. The kiss. I wasn't sure that they were going to have a kiss, precisely because of this whole thing where they are skipping towards the two things that happen much later in the book, so I didn't think they were going to have a kiss in this one. I'm glad they did. It was an awesome kiss. That was hot, man. That was hot. I love that. I'm glad they did that, even though I don't really know what they're going to do after, since apparently now everybody, and not only Maris and Robert, but all the important dignitaries from the Clave already know that Alec is gay. And that brings me to my next point, is that while I love how Alec and Magnus's relationship has been dealt with in this season, they have so much chemistry. They're both great actors. Their scenes are amazing. I have no complaint about their relationship whatsoever, except the fact that it's lacking a bit of backstory. Because, we feel for Alec because, he's confused about his own sexuality, and he has to come out to his parents, who are so strict with him, and just the mere idea of thinking of a relationship with a man, let alone a downworlder, is terrifying for him, because he's always been so focused on the work, right? So we feel for him on that level, but the show never really mentioned the fact that, not only are these insecurities coming from inside Alec, but also the Clave itself looks down on all gay people, right? It's not something that's exclusive to Alec. They're very homophobic, and basically there are no gay Shadowhunters because it's just not accepted, and if you are, you have to keep it quiet and marry a person of the opposite sex, because you can't be gay. As far as the Clave is concerned, you can't be gay. And they haven't mentioned that, and I feel that added an extra layer of, heaviness to Alex's doubts and confusion and just his pain and his insecurity. And I missed that extra layer. I really did. They should have mentioned that because, it's going to come up later on because, hey, Alec is not the only gay Shadowhunter. Just gonna say that. So I definitely missed that. I wish they could have, brought it up at some point before. And then Alec and Magnus kiss, and then they pull back. And Magnus is like, oh, yeah, baby. And Alec is like, what did I just do? And you just kind of want to reach into the screen and just give him a big hug. I'm sure I wasn't the only one. Because he's such a beautiful sweetheart and you just can't wait to give him a hug and make him feel better and just realize that he can be happy. But of course, as soon as that happens, then comes Simon rambling about The Graduate, which I thought was fantastic, okay? It may have gone a little too long, but I laughed myself silly. It is totally something that Simon would do, and not only was he hilarious, but then you also have, like, Magnus and Alex's what the freak expressions, it's like, they're like, what is happening? And then Isabel standing next to Simon, just sort of smiling at him and being like, oh, you big dork, you're adorable. You can just see it in her eyes, and the shipper in me just cannot let that go. Okay, I loved that moment. I thought it was adorable. Now, after that, of course, we had the Lydia thing, and I do have to wonder, is she dead? Because I noticed she was knocked unconscious, but I've been saying for like the entire season, or since the moment that she appeared, I've been saying that she was going to be a good guy, but she was going to end up dead. So now I don't know if she's actually dead or if she's just knocked out. I am actually really hoping that she's not dead, because I would like to see her come back, or at least be mentioned eventually again. But I don't know. I've been saying all season that she's going to die, so now I'm not sure. They left it kind of ambiguously, so I would like to know about that. I hope they confirm something in the next episode. Then you have that scene with Jason Clary in her room, and she's showing him the box. Hey, look, the box is back. Didn't I say it should have been back? It's back. I'm glad they're listening to me, or my attempt at telepathy. But I did like that scene with the box. Dom and Kat were so great, man. I can't complain about them at all in this episode. Every single one of their scenes was so great, when they were apart, when they were together, and this one in particular was really great. As far as later on, again, little hints and details about Alex personality. It's not that he's always defensive and grumpy. He's also really, really awkward and anxious, and I loved when he mentioned being anxious in the crowd and being so intense. I love that. That is so Alec. I did find it funny that Mary's is the one who objects the hardest to the relationship, because in the book it was the dad, it was Robert, who had the biggest objections. Like, Mary's started off weirded out a bit, because again, the Clave does not like gay Shadowhunters. That's not a thing that happens within the Clave. So at first she starts off like that, but she mellows out relatively quickly. Whereas Robert still, he doesn't really treat Alec badly in a way. Like, he's not like, you're not my son anymore or anything, but he does have objections, and he certainly doesn't approve of Magnus. He kind of tends to think that when he thinks about Alec, Magnus is not even like in the same thought at all. So that was interesting, and I wonder how that's gonna play, because Robert has his own issues that led him to that point, and I wonder if they ever get to that season, that if they are going to actually touch on that. Would be interesting. And then, of course, Alec asks Magnus on a date, and I cheer so much. The Hodge and Luke thing I thought was a little bit stupid. It's like, Luke's like, yeah, sure, stay alone with my future wife. I have no problem with that, even though there's a mole in the institute somewhere. That's totally okay. Nobody ever suspected Hodge, which is, I understand it, but at the same time, it just makes Luke seem like really weird because he's like, sure, my friend. I'm like, you haven't seen each other for years, and suddenly you're like chummy? What the heck is going on? You shouldn't trust him so much. So that was a little bit weird, but yeah, big reveal. Hodge is a traitor. Yay for those who hadn't read the books and were shocked. I liked it the way they did it, because they were pushing the Lydia thing pretty hard. I liked it. It's not my favorite thing ever, but it was okay. And I do have to add that in this episode, another thing I really liked, not just the scenes and the acting, I liked the effects. The CGI was actually decent in this episode. Like, for example, when Clary was crossing the wall of fire at Ragnar's, I thought that looked really cool, as it did when she pulled Ragnar out of the painting. I thought that was really cool. It looked really neat. And then at the marriage ceremony, when Lydia presses the stele against the rock thing, which I forget the name, she presses it and there's like a little mist that comes out when she touches the stele to it. I thought that was cool. The only special effect that I didn't really like, and in fact it felt like a silly plot point, was when Ragnar died, because you had like the demon and it looked like something come out of like a bad 70s sci-fi movie with like Ragnar walking backwards and this little like tentacle thing flopping out of like in front of him because the demon had jumped him. I thought it looked silly. I didn't like it. And I didn't like that it was a Shaxx demon, because weren't Shaxx demons like the little tiny ones that looked like insects? And that killed Ragnar? Like, really? Sure, he was caught by surprise, but really? This is a warlock who is supposedly stronger than Magnus, right? So it was kind of a silly way for him to die, but if he had to die anyway 2 books down the line, I guess they can pull it off. Apart from those little tidbits that don't even really matter, I love this episode, as you can tell, because I've been talking about it for over half an hour. I really loved it. I think it definitely is this standout episode of this season. I'm looking forward to the season finale, but I really doubt it's going to be as exciting as this one was. This was great. Performances were amazing. Just the dialogue is so much better. This is what they can do when they actually put their thought into the dialogue and how things flow. And it helps the actors just give their best, rather than when they get crappy lines and they have to make the best of it and they can't. Everybody did so well, and it was an episode that was so exciting. Even though it was a cliche, overdone plot line, it worked because the performances made it so layered and gave it such a heart. And I really love this episode. It's by far my favorite, and I am going to rewatch it like 4 more times before the next one comes on Tuesday. I'm sure of it. So I really love this one. And that's it from me before I keep going on for another half an hour. As usual, be sure to visit our website at thegeekypub.com. We have reviews not just for the previous episodes of Shadowhunters, but also for other TV shows, books, movies, games. We have a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to visit and check it out. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you like our videos. Because most of the time, even before they hit the website, they're up on YouTube. So if you don't want to miss anything that we upload, then you want to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And that's it for me today. I will see you guys in my next review. Bye.